Good morning, Merry Marvelites and DC aficionados alike. Basically, I was waiting to see if Rock620 and Jeff Winstead were in this live chat. Once they're here, I've got a show already. Thank you guys for joining me. Usually I like to do this very late at night, and as you'll notice, I'm actually not in my bunker at the moment. I'm upstairs in the bedroom, and I see now a shirt that I should have moved off the dresser there. It's a good thing my wife won't watch this. She'll be horrified that I let you see how unkempt our living space is. My wife is actually working in my bunker, my crypt of comics. So we've got some fun comics to talk about today. As some of you know, if you've watched one of these before, but also if you haven't, welcome. Usually I'm very specifically, Rock, we got some natural light. Wait, hold on. I can show Rock. Blinded by the light, as it were. We got a little bit of natural light. I don't have any fake light, actually. I have the window open from over there. The blinds. So usually what we do here is I participate Tuesdays and Fridays. Great comic shop here in Burbank, California, Bladtcast Comics. Their Instagram is at Bladtcast Burbank. And they do these live claim sales. A lot of comic shops, I think, do this. But they're my local shop, so I don't have to pay on shipping. And also, I like everybody who runs the shop over there. And so they're doing one today at 3 p.m. Pacific, so 6 Eastern. And they do ship. So if you don't live in Burbank, they're going to do new books today. You won't be able to get them till tomorrow. But there's new Marvel books, new DC books today. And as the comics industry struggles, I guess is the best word to use, to come back from the shutdown when they weren't printing new books. This is the first time I think that we've had like a nice number of new Marvel, new DC, and also plenty of independent books too. So if you're interested in that, check it out. You'll see me in there, and you might outbid me on something, or it's not even bid it. You just have to be the first one to claim it. It's not an auction, it's a claim sale. And I've gotten some good stuff from them. I'm going to tell you right now, I've gotten some really great stuff that I'm going to save for next time. I'll talk about that a little bit later in the show. I've got some really good stuff from my friends at Bladtcast, and I want to share it with all of you. Full disclosure, I did go through the bag and sort them, and there's a lot of stuff I forgot was in here. There's one thing that I shouldn't have claimed because I already had it, but whatever. I got caught up in the moment. So there's a rhyme and a reason to the order in which I'm showing them. If you have any questions, comments, just thoughts about comics in general, anything you want to talk to me about, I am Christian Blatt. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at ChristianDMZ. So let's get started. Here is the bag for the unbagging. It's a fancy one. It says thank you and have a nice day. That's how you know it's a good bag. All right. This is a relatively current book. I'm going to take the bag off so that the whole show isn't just, My wife would really like that. All right. So this is the number one of a current run of Doctor Strange, Surgeon Supreme. I have not read any of this before. I just really like the cover, and a lot of times that's what happens with these claim sales. All I get to see is the cover. Now, sometimes if it's a back issue, you can ask them to flip through it, and they'll show you the condition of it. That factors into some stuff that I've gotten lately. Some stuff I'm really excited about. Again, tease it forward. So this looks really cool. I'm going to read this probably later today. I'm very interested in this. Again, just based on the cover, Ant-Man. I want to know what he's up to. I don't know how new this is. I don't think this book is particularly current. I don't think it's from like the last couple months is what I mean. So we got Doctor Strange. We got Ant-Man. I'm assuming this is a Scott Lang Ant-Man. I don't think that Hank Pym is Ant-Man anymore. I don't think he has been for a long time. Let me know if I'm wrong. I'll let myself know if I'm wrong when I read it. So far, I know this is just some new stuff. This complete impulse buy. There's an ongoing Kiss Zombies comic, and I was like, well, I love Kiss. I don't like zombies. I want to know what this is. And this is from Dynamite. So, every once in a while, obviously, they're not too hard up if they're able to enter into a licensing agreement with Kiss. KissOnline.com for all of and there's a great comment from Jeff Winstead. They need to make that number one bigger. I think in both of these cases, Jeff Winstead is absolutely right. Look at this giant number one. You would think that like the number one is still something that people are interested in. There was a time where it's like, all you got to do is have a new number one. That's what you want. And also, Jacob Downey, thumbs up for the Bladtcast. Thank you, Jacob. Glad you're here. Always great to have everybody. So I'm interested in that Kiss book. I don't know anything about it. They're going to be as their characters, their makeup characters. So it's like, I don't know, Demon, what do you think? So it'll be a lot like Kiss Meets the Phantom of the Park, which I hope some of you were able to join. Will Sterling, Kevin Scott, and a few of us who live tweeted Kiss Meets the Phantom of the Park not that long ago. So this is one that I feel like I'm going to have to loan these to my friend Zia from Marvel Movie News and a ton of AfterBuzz shows. Also, fan favorite on the Bladtcast, is an ongoing new Morbius book, which I only bought to hype myself up for the movie. Now, the movie is not going to come out in October like it was supposed to. I am optimistic, as with everything. I think that this is a cool cover, and I got so wrapped up that I was like, well, I want to read this story, so let me get the Morbius number one with the normal size number one. Why don't I punch the microphone? Why don't I get this Morbius number two? Oh, what the hey? How about Morbius number three? And then finally, Morbius number four. Now, I don't know if this is an ongoing book or if it was a limited series. So I don't know that much about the character. What I know most about him, I've seen him on the 90s Batman 90s Spider-Man animated series. And I really don't, I don't think I've read anything else with the character in it. But we have a couple comments from the chat. Rock620, that is Scott Lang in the Ant-Man issue. That's what I thought. Thank you, Rock. Jacob Downey, I'm going to figure out one of them live tweet things before they go away. I swear. You do need to sync up a movie. And honestly, Kiss Meets the Phantom of the Park was not an easy one to find, as I found. So, you need to kind of... That's why I should do a better job of announcing them more in advance. When we did the director's cut of the 2003 Daredevil, that was a lot of fun. I think Will Sterling just wanted to go to bed, but we had fun with it. And Rock likes those covers. He likes those Morbius covers. So, Rock, the next time you're in Zia's live chat for Twitch, and that's over Zialand, Xialand, over on Twitch, you can let her know, hey, ask Christian for those Morbius comics. So let's see. This is... Let me make sure I have this right. I think... Yeah, so there's a... Let me kind of do these in reverse order. There's a new run of Thor that I've been very interested in. It deals with Galactus. There's some surprising things. The back issues for this series, and sometimes the current issues, I saw like issue 2 was on eBay for like $40. So for some reason, this thing is catching on fire. I believe the issue I'm holding right now is already selling for $20. I just happened to get it when it was new. So I think I'm going to have to just digitally read issues 2 and 3. I have 4 somewhere here. I guess it's not in this bag. Whoops. But so I'm excited about that. And then I also picked up an older run of Thor. And this is where the numbering gets confusing because these are also 2 and 3. And I knew that I wasn't buying the current Thor when I got these. But kind of a cool cover with Loki with Mjolnir there. And I mean, this is not fat Thor. This is jacked Thor. And he is very, very upset. So we'll will continue talking about those Morbius covers, though. Yeah, Jacob agrees with Rock that the Morbius covers are eye-grabbing. And interesting thing, Jeff Winstead, his wife Rachel colored some pages in the 90s Morbius series. That's really cool. I don't even think I knew that your wife did comics coloring. Did you explain that to me? And then I forgot, because my apologies to Rachel if I did. Let's see. Cami Egan, thanks for joining us. It's so cool to see you. That's so metal badass. I mean, there's a lot of things that were metal badass. Those covers are insane. I think he's talking about Morbius. Although I did like these Thor covers too. These are actually pretty cool. So I've already got a lot of reading to do. Again, we get impulse buys here. So this is the current run of Daredevil in which I have read nothing. But it's a variant. And again, somehow, even though I don't like zombies, I got caught up in a couple of claim sales with zombie stuff. This is the zombie variant because, as you see, they're doing like a Marvel Zombies thing. I know DC has this deceased thing. So I don't know. Sometimes a variant cover, that'll be enough. Similarly, not reading this current New Mutants book, but sort of the gang kind of occupying braces. I was excited to see the classic New Mutants characters, basically. So that's why I checked this out. I'm going to read this just sight unseen, and then hopefully, like all Marvel books, I can already tell that it doesn't. Oh yeah, okay. So there's a page where they're gonna let me know what's happening. So that's fine. That'll be cool. And Jacob Downey does not like the braces. It's a little creepy. I'm not going to lie. At first I thought that was Mojo, but I don't think that's Mojo now. We might see Mojo in a little bit on another book. But yeah. So again, a lot of these, and that's kind of the beauty of the claim sale. Cami Egan, I've downloaded Marvel Unlimited and reading the classic issues of Fantastic Four, Eternal, Spider-Man, etc. Do they have, Cami Egan, do they have sort of like Amazing Spider-Man #1 from 1962 and it goes onward? Because I've read a lot of those in Marvel Tales in the 80s, but as I've talked about before, there's a lot of stuff that I just don't know. I'm very interested in the period of time of Amazing Spider-Man after both Gwen Stacy and the Green Goblin die. So like Amazing Spider-Man 123 to like 200. There's spoiler alert, you might see some books from that era in here in a little bit. But we'll get to that in a little bit. So I'm interested kind of, I have more for a second. I don't know if I was gone for all of you, but the show is probably better. Although you don't need to see me, but you really do. And then Cami Egan says, yes, they do. I totally love it because I haven't read these since I was a kid. Yeah, I would like to reread actually some of those stories. I need to find sort of the most accessible stories, the most accessible storytelling for my soon-to-be 5-year-old son, Felix. And, there are some like a kind of an adventures line for new readers. So I'm really hoping, and in fact, I showed off some of those, like Avengers and I think Star Wars, that the Kyle at Black Cat Comics in Burbank was kind enough to throw into a bag before they even started doing claim sales. All right. So this is a book that I am almost positive I already had, but it's Alpha Flight number 53. And you're like, okay, so what? But look, there's Wolverine. And then look at the names. So this is the first time that Jim Lee drew Wolverine, as far as I can tell, at least professionally. So definitely a bit of a sucker for that. Obviously, there are some issues that people have with Jim Lee, but it's hard to argue with his artistic style. I also know that he hates Wolverine's brown costume, so the fact that he had to draw it is kind of fun. John Byrne hates the yellow costume, or hated. I don't think he cares anymore. So I'm kind of interested in this. I think I've read this book. If I have two of them, maybe I'll give one away the next time. I have to go check and see if I have this one. I'll give the other one away at some point. Again, we have our impulse buy. This is not that recent because it's a 64-page issue and it's $2.95. Your regular size issues are $3.99 now. This is the Punisher Back to School special. So maybe I'll read this to Felix on his first day of kindergarten. I like the idea of self-contained stories from a continuity that I didn't keep up with. I can probably pick up the Punisher unless he's like Cosmic Ghost Rider or anything that they've done like that, and just kind of dive in and know what's going on because he's sort of always the Punisher. This sip is sponsored by our friends at Dunkin' Donuts. Thanks, Duncan. Let's see what we have here. We've got a lot of stuff going on in there that I don't quite know what's happening. Jacob Johnny, explain to me what Koga is because I trust you. So I don't quite know who the Koga is and all this stuff, but that's fine. But yeah, perfect time to show the sponsor, even though they're not a sponsor. In any case, now we're going to get into some older books, which I know in particular Jeff Winstead tuned in for that. I was very excited to get this book. Oh, good, it's open. So this was kind of cool to get my hands on. I don't have a lot of this stuff from this era. This is from 1968. Fantastic Four number 80. So it's a double-digit Fantastic Four issue, So I think it's kind of cool to, check out stuff like this. I mean, it is Kirby, and here's the best thing about it. Usually you put your guest star on there because you feel like it's going to get people to buy it, but I don't know who bought this book because Wyatt Wingfoot was in it. I actually know that character. Not a bad character. I just don't know what a grabber, what an attention grabber he is. And thanks let me get back to Rock 620. That Punisher was from not that guy. Well, it happens. Rock 620, that Punisher was from 1992. So that's a point where I was still reading comics, but I wasn't reading the Punisher at that point. So thanks for that. In any case, I appreciate that. And somebody else had something good, but there's also, plenty that aren't worth reading in here. Oh, I see. Jacob Johnny shared the stream, so it brought it's basically a raid. So it'll be harder for me to pay attention to the chat now. But anyway, somebody said that this was cool. Yeah. So anyway, we got this. This is kind of cool to have, I think. And I don't know. I mean, you just open to any point and you're like, oh, this is just the most like Jack Kirby looking stuff, and sure, you could digitally just read any of these issues, but I like to do this on here. Yep. Love to basically take a good whiff of some old paper and smell old comics. I think that's the way I like to go. In any case, that's a fun one. Let's see. We've got a comment from Jeff Winstead. They were really pushing Wingfoot in those days, Wingfoot for those days, and for some reason, I just read the first appearance of Black Panther where Wyatt saves the day. I wonder if they were positioning Wyatt Wingfoot to get his own book. Maybe they were being mindful of inclusivity. I don't know that. And Jacob Down is trying to explain that the Koga people doing a raid, they're great people showing the love. So I went and put everybody in timeout because I just didn't understand it. So that's just me being old. Sorry, Koga guys. But I'm excited to read this book. I don't know a lot about this point in continuity for the FF. I just noticed this on the bottom. Look at this. Retailers. See page 32 for special display allowance plan. Well, that's kind of interesting. Maybe it's not. But, and then they're letting you know, like, you can display this spectacular Spider-Man, which is not the same thing as the Peter Parker, the Spectacular Spider-Man, which, again, teasing it forward, you may see some of that in a little bit. It's a different series. The just straight up Spectacular Spider-Man was a collection. I don't remember what it was about this specific What If, but it's just What If, and the fact that kind of a chubby Watcher is saying, stop, don't buy this issue. This was definitely an impulse buy. Look at all the characters that are on there. This is a Bob Layton cover. Let's see what he says. If only I could violate my sacred trust and again meddle in human affairs, I would save you from this. The Marvel Universe has gone crazy and the alternate realities will never be the same again. For some reason, What If number 34, everything went crazy. And this is the original run of What If. The first What If I ever bought was, I think, number 48. And it was what if Uncle Ben had lived. Spoiler alert, Aunt May died. So still tragic. Even in alternate universes, Peter can't win. Kame Egan, I just finished FF12 from 61 where they first meet the Hulk. I added the what ifs to my reading list too. Yeah, I would like to read some of those. They did a book called Marvel Saga in the 80s that basically gave you the timeline, the chronology of all of Marvel, and they would jump around between as this was happening in the FF, this was happening in the Fantastic Four, this was happening in the X-Men. So, at a time where you couldn't really access a lot of these stories, it was fun to read Marvel Saga, and it was weird because there was a typewritten element, to kind of explain things to make the story move along. So I know some of those stories, but yeah, I would like to really dive into that original FF run. Yeah, the what if's fun, but the issues are very hit or miss. Yeah, there's some of them are oh, that's a cool cover, but I've mentioned this one before. Do I really care if Wolverine was King of the Vampires? My friend Zia very much cares whether or not he was. You want to talk about your impulse buys? I think this actually was not the variant. I love Peter Porker, the Spectacular Spider-Ham. I have his original run. Actually, I believe he first showed up in the pages of What The, which was Marvel's humor book at the time. But if you're going to have this, what they call a cover swipe of Amazing Spider-Man 238, and it's Mojo ripping up Peter Porker, the Spectacular Spider-Ham, his costume or possibly him, yeah, I'm going to assume that I can pick this book up and just read it straight through and not be super confused. Love Mojo. And I mentioned him earlier. So that is why I have that book. What's this one here? Oh, yeah, we already saw that comment. We're going to get to Spidey for a while. In all honesty, the rest of the show is going to be Spidey now. So keep that in mind. Some really cool stuff that you're going to see. You'll see. You'll see what's coming. But, again, teasing it forward, there's a really good Spidey, an amazing Spidey, pun intended, that I have for next time that I'm super excited about and can't wait to show everybody. So, Symbiote Spider-Man Alien Reality. Okay, don't know much about this one shot. Love the Hobgoblin, but I'll tell you what it was that got me to read this, to buy this. Peter David. Peter David, who people know is just a great author and great comic book writer, but he also wrote Spectacular Spider-Man at an era early on when I was reading, and he just did some great stuff. And I was just like, yeah, I'm all in on checking that out. And Jacob Downey is excited to see this spectacular, the amazing, the web of the Marvel team up of Spider-Man. We got a few pretty old books here. I'm pretty excited about. And again, I'm going to open it, because I think that these older books in particular are really fun to flip through, and hopefully everybody enjoys it, getting to see these things. So we've got, let me hold it up, The Amazing Spider-Man, number 117. So in number 117, you think about that, Norman Osborn's still alive. Gwen Stacy's still alive. Her dad's dead. But Gwen Stacy's still alive. She's only got 4 months left. But 117. And this was one where just the issue number. The fact that it is from 1972. And also, what could be more 1972 in comics than a Charles Atlas ad? But yeah, I don't know what was going on with Spidey at this point. But I tell you, and this is I do like old letters pages, by the way. I always like to read them. There's kind of a great one where, The guy who, George R. R. Martin, he has a letter in Fantastic Four number 20. He was just a fan of the book, and I think he's very critical of a few different things in there. So there are books out there. There's a Marvel Tales and a Solo Avengers 16, maybe Marvel Tales 212. You will see letters from me. Maybe I will show those in a future show. I have to dig them out. And and hey, they have my old mailing address. I don't live there anymore. My family doesn't live there. But you could go and try and find my boyhood home, do a walking tour. Anyway, so Amazing Spider-Man 117, I feel like this one I would give myself some context, and I would, especially because it seems like Peter's right in the middle of something when this starts. So I think I'm going to check that one out soon. This is all some good reading for the near future for yours truly. Amazing Spider-Man 144. Oh no, sorry, that's the next one. I jumped the gun a little. Amazing Spider-Man 140. And Spidey, the Jackal, the Grizzly in a battle to the death. There's a lot of Jackal in this time frame. I was talking about a book that I had that my friend made a Xerox of every page. I think it's Amazing 148, maybe 149. And the Jackal was in it, and it was a clone saga. It was a whole bunch of stuff. So I'm actually a little bit familiar with this era, contradicting what I said before, but I really want to fill in the books around this because this is an interesting time for Spidey as well. I believe it's still Jerry Conway. That's worth an open just to try and see if I'm right. Yep. Jerry Conway, Ross Andrew, who Jeff Winstead, jump in about that. I like his style. He's a classic, a little bit of a Kirby style, a little bit of a Ron Friend style. Not somebody who gets a lot of credit, but did a lot of work for Marvel in the 70s. And of course, again, we'll get more 70s than this Kung Fu and Karate ad. But yeah, there's the Jackal. There's Peter. Ross Andrew. This is very much my style. This is what I like from comics. As much as I loved Todd McFarlane and Jim Lee and Rob Liefeld from The Ankles Up, this is the stuff that I really get into. I really like just this look. Jeff Winstead is commenting, that's an interesting era where Marvel placed the cover art in a rectangle on the cover surrounded by a colored frame. Oh, yeah, I see what he's saying. I've actually seen, now that you say that, I've seen a lot of books like this. I think that it's a mistake because they already used this, the Marvel Comics Group thing here. I think actually using more of the cover. And when I read comics, it was right when they got rid of this. Like the next, a couple months in, like Star Wars number 75 had this, but like number 76 didn't. So like the first book I bought had this on it, but then a month later, they literally got rid of it. So that's kind of cool though. It didn't even register that it was like a thing that was that common back then, even though I've seen it. I feel like in doing these, what I need to do is do follow-up episodes where I talk about all the books after I've read them. And I haven't been good about finding the time to do all of that. Let's see. So I mentioned this one before, number 144. So not too far off from there. And let's see what Peter's saying. I must be seeing things. You can't be standing here. You're dead. So you can tell from the go-go boot and the little bit of the skirt there that's probably going to be the clone of Gwen Stacy. I believe this is her first appearance. And I believe I bought it despite this little tear up here. But that's also why I think I got it for, this says $8. I think it was a little bit less because the gang over at Bladtcast, they'll take reasonable offers. So let me just flip through this and see if I'm right that this is, I think Peter sees Gwen walking. Oh, actually, this is crazy. So Aunt May sees Gwen walking, but knows that she's not alive. So yes, I went and picked up the first appearance of the second Gwen Stacy, the Gwen Stacy clone. So I've read some of that. And referring to the era where I have the black and white one. This is the issue right before it with the tarantula spoiler alert, you're definitely going to see the tarantula again. So in a recent one, I showed that I had 148. So I'm going to read all these together. And I think that I'll probably fill it in with some digital reading, and I'll kind of talk a little bit about that. Jacob says, just chatting about comics is fun enough, but a post-read review would be a nice wrap-up. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking. I think it would be fun to do that. I've got a couple more amazing Spider-Mans. I didn't realize I had these. I forgot. It's a lot of these are impulse buys, as I said. So number 216, will death be the villain? I don't think that's the Punisher, because you know what? If that was the Punisher, he'd be on the cover, even at this point. Even in 1981. This is a John Romita Jr. cover, though. Pretty early for him to be doing that, 216. But, you know what? I think he was on the book at that point. Now I got to do some more homework. Let's see. Did he actually do the pencils? Yeah, John Romita Jr. and Jim Mooney. Story by Denny O'Neil, the late, great Denny O'Neil. Best known for interesting enough, the editor, Al Milgrom. I didn't know if I went away there. I see some flickering, so that's why I stopped talking. If you guys saw me the whole time, then it's fine. Al Milgrom, better known as an artist. I'm not going to open this one. It is a John Romita Jr. I've read a lot of the era right after this, but Spidey and the Juggernaut, yeah, man, I definitely want to read this. I love the idea. I love the Juggernaut. He's a great character. I feel like he doesn't get overused. I think they did a good job with him in what was a bad X-Men movie. The Last Stand, I believe, is the one that he's in. I've read this before. And you know what? I might have it. I'll see if I have it. But I love this. I just love this cover. And it was not $12. It was less than that. But just this cover of J. Jonah punching Spidey and this John Romita Jr. artwork. I just love this cover. So I got it. All right. So we've got 4 books left. And a little announcement about what's happening this Thursday. After that, Thursday at 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 Eastern, a time that might be familiar with some of you who know me. So we've got a few issues here. Thanks again to not our sponsor, Dunkin' Donuts. Okay, and then Jacob let me know there was a little buffer. It's okay now. Yeah, so when I see that, I'm just going to stop. Is Ted Cruz growing a beard to try out for the next X-Men movie? Probably. Look, there's always a role for a senator. You can always be Senator Kelly. You know, there's always room for that. All right, so we've got a few really cool Peter Parker, the Spectacular Spider-Man. The first Spider-Man series that I read ongoing, I believe, was Peter Parker number 79. Peter Parker, the Spectacular Spider-Man. So when I started reading comics, the Black Cat was Spidey's girlfriend. Mary Jane came back shortly thereafter. Amazing 259. So I don't know, within less than a year, like 6 months, basically. Yeah, and Rock pointing out, DD, how very New York of you. Yeah, little side tangent. When I first moved to LA in 2003, I was horrified that they didn't have Dunkin' Donuts out here. And I would always stock up and go crazy anytime I went somewhere that did have it. They had them in Phoenix, and then they had them in Vegas. But in any case, we've had them out here for about probably 6 years now, and they've expanded. There's one near my house. I had some errands. I knew I was going to be talking to all of you, and I thought it was a good time for a caffeinated beverage. Anyway, Peter Parker Spectacular Spider-Man number 76. This is a cool cover of Black Cat, a character that I like, a character that we have continually been promised for movies. What's her name from Rogue One played Felicia Hardy as like a secretary in the Amazing Spider-Man 2. So you knew we were going to get her, but we never did. And for our pal Jeff Winstead, this is an Al Milgrom cover. And I like this Al Milgrom cover. Now that you see it, you realize it is indeed. So, that's a little bit of a different thing. So yeah, Al Milgrom did this whole issue as penciler. Inker Jim Mooney. Bill Mantlo is still writing. This isn't too long after he introduced Cloak and Dagger, Bill Mantlo. I think that was 64. So anyway, we will take a look at those books. So what we're doing here with the Peter Parker, the Spectacular Spider-Man books is we're going to go backwards. So that was 76. Here I've got number 60. What a cool... It's a cool Spidey cover. And the signature of the artist not in there. Special double-sized issue for number 60. You're going to assume that they did a double-sized issue for number 50. In fact, I think I picked up number 50 in a past claim sale that I did here. Let's see. So Roger Stern wrote this. And Ed Hannigan and Jim Mooney. So I think it must be a Jim Mooney cover. Interesting that Roger Stern was writing Spectacular at this time. I actually had no idea that he had a run on there, but maybe he was trying out for the big show. So this is a book with the Beetle. Kind of a little bit of a goofy character. By the way, just flipping through, how Steve Ditko-esque is this artwork, especially young Peter. Or I don't even think he's young there. I think they just wanted him to look like young Peter. So that's very cool. I will definitely check that out. So yeah, let's see. Oh, Rock wants to know, did I wait in the long lines when they first opened? I did when I was there. I'm going to tell you the truth. Because I am in the media and I booked a rep from Dunkin' Donuts to talk on a national radio show and promote the fact that they were coming to LA. There was a little bit of payola there, and they let me jump the line. So, yeah, I did that with Coltrane. If you know the Bladtcast, you might know Coltrane, who I worked with at the time. I'm going to actually stop caffeinating myself and just replenish the liquids. So, in any case, all right, so we're going back, just a little bit back. And the next one is going to be way back. This is not the Silver Samurai. It is a different samurai. And Spidey seems to have a very interesting outfit here. I have some other Spectacular issues around here that I'll look at another time, but they weren't from these claim sales. Again, Roger Stern, Mary Severin doing plot and pictures, and Jim Mooney doing the inks. So kind of a great opportunity for Marie Severin, who I think passed away recently. Doesn't get enough credit. This is kind of an interesting art style, and I don't know why Spidey is in Japan here, but I really want to know what's happening here. Let's see. Love the Beatlemania headline. Was the Beatle John, Paul, Ringo, or George? Kame Egan? I think it was Stu Sutcliffe. In any case... let's see. What about? Oh yeah. What about that 10-speed bicycle? Now, there's a lot of this going on in this era in Marvel. Is like win a 10-speed bicycle. There's a month of Marvel books that have you. There's a contest where you can win some. There's Frank Miller on issue 60. Thanks, Jeff. That explains a lot, actually. Thank you. That's a great Frank Miller cover. So in any case, the month that Uncanny X-Men 137, the death of Jean Grey the death of Phoenix, I guess, technically. And then also it's the same month that Star Wars number 39 came out, which was the first of their adaptation of The Empire Strikes Back, which is amazing. It's some amazing work, that adaptation. They have this thing at the top. It's just like this. It's like, Toys R Us, win all this. So these like classic iconic covers are soiled with this advertising. And this great Frank Miller cover also soiled by it. So I think that's interesting. All right. So from this claim sale, the last book that I'm going to look at Oh, I don't like these bags. The ones where the tape is built in. I'm always petrified of sticking. I usually take the tape off of them too. So, this is the backing board. But this is a book that I've wanted for a long time. Peter Parker, The Spectacular Spider-Man, #1. This is the first issue. I randomly was staying with my aunt, and there was like a souvenir store that had #2 on the rack for a cover price of like 30 cents. So I've had that since like the mid 80s. So it was an old book at that point. It was a very old book. And I've always been like, oh man, I would love to get issue 1. And look, there's the tarantula again. And just so cool to get a Spider-Man #1 from back then. I'm going to be honest, it's going to probably be the only Spider-Man #1 from, before. Well, not counting, new relaunches and new volumes and things. It's probably the only Spider-Man #1 that I'll have, of this era. I don't think I'll ever get Amazing Spider-Man #1. But interesting, Jerry Conway, I guess, doing double duty, also writing Spectacular Spider-Man at this point. Sal Buscema, Mike Esposito, and Joe Rosen and Dave Hunt, the colorist. So, very Buscema-esque look, for Spidey. So that's actually pretty cool. This seems like it'll be a good one. And by the way, look, there's Flash and Mary Jane right there on the cover. So pretty excited about that one. Let's see. Oh, Tarantula, says Jacob Downey. Still very cool, though. Yeah. And then, Jacob was asking, who he was fighting. It's the Tarantula. So, so that is this. I can't believe this took 40 minutes. It was a lot of books, though. And Jeff Winstead is very excited about this get. Yeah, it's kind of like a mid-grade copy. I got it for $15. I didn't even look to see what it's worth. I think like a mint copy is like 50 or more. But just to have even one I can read, I'm just excited to have this. Like this, to me, because it's a #1, because it's from the 70s, if I had room in my house to frame comic books and put them on the wall, I would put this up. I think it would be really cool to have this. So thanks to my friends from Black Cat Comics. And again, if you like sort of this eclectic mix of old and new books and just talking about them the way I do here, this is kind of what they do with their claim sales Tuesdays and Fridays at 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern. And again, they ship to anywhere. But even if you think you might not buy any of the comics, you just kind of want to chime in the chat and talk about comics, sort of like I do here. It's Black Cat Burbank on Instagram. They do it on Instagram. So most of you know me from, some of you know me from the Dennis Miller Show, Dennis Miller Option. There's the Bladtcast. That's whose YouTube channel we're on right now. BLADTCAST.com. And you'll see the little display on the screen. I'm on Twitter and Instagram at ChristianDMZ. A lot of you know me from AfterBuzz and Popcorn Talk Marvel Movie News. And you may have heard that those networks are taking a bit of a hiatus at the moment. But I am here to let everybody know that this Thursday at 11 a.m. 2 Pacific, you, on this same YouTube page, my Bladtcast page, you will find a show where we talk about Marvel movies and news. We'll talk about comics. We'll talk about other things. But as of right now, Z is going to be with me this Thursday at 11. Also, Rachel Goodman, who's been with me lately, and my friend Michael Shirley. There's a lot to talk about. We haven't gotten to talk about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. in a while. But I think I'm also going to do a few minutes of this kind of unbagging because the books that I have are that good. There's a first appearance that I've always wanted. There's a death of a character, which is really cool. And then also just like a massive crossover event that I never thought that I would own. So there's 3 books that I never thought I would own. I might even talk about what I spent on them. And I was blinded by how much I wanted one of those books in particular. But so let's see. Oh no. Jacob has a joke. A joke before we go. What did the bus driver say to the rowdy judge? On or off? Okay. Don't read it, Rock 620. Just can't help yourself, can you, Jacob Downey? Yeah, Jacob and Rock will. Jacob will give a lot of his share a lot of his jokes in the live chat on Zia's Twitch page, Zia Land, which I mentioned earlier, and I usually appreciate them. Rock is usually right, and he's a little bit wrong, but. The big takeaway here, other than talking about all these really fun books that I had, and so Jeff Winstead, when I told you like a month ago I had a book that I really wanted to show off on one of these, and I thought you'd be excited. It was this. The book I have for the next one, way more exciting than this. I know you'll be excited for that one. It's a decent condition copy, but not mint, so I was able to afford it. Very excited about what that one is. So we will do that. I will probably do a little bit of that. But again, there'll be Marvel movie talk this Thursday, 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern, just like you're used to finding us. You just might have to dig around a little bit. It'll be on YouTube. It'll be on my channel, the at Marvel News PTN on Twitter. You'll be able to find the link right there. So if that's how you usually found the show, you're going to find it in the same way. It's going to be some of the same people that we've had of late. So please join us. There's actually a lot to talk about. I was just looking at some images from Hellstrom, which I believe is going to be the only new Marvel content we get in 2020. I think WandaVision, I think Falcon and Winter Soldier, I think those are going to be 2021. And maybe I'm just being a Debbie Downer, but the state of the world has me thinking that we're not getting movies this year. I want to be wrong. I want Black Widow. I want Wonder Woman 84. Sooner than that, I want New Mutants. I also want Bill and Ted 3, by the way. I want these movies to come out. I'm going to go see them at the drive-in if they come out. I'm just letting you know now. I'm not going to the theater. That's just me. But I hope that all of you live in places where movie theaters are open and you can see all of them. Jeff Winston doesn't like to go to the movies anyway. So, he's just going to wait for everything on demand. Anyway, it was really fun to have Rock, Jacob, Kemi Egan was here for a while. Jeff Winstead, I basically bullied him into taking an early lunch break so that he could do this with me. And even Jacob's friends, I don't know what they were talking about, but if they watched and they enjoyed any of what they saw, that's great. I still don't know anything about what that is. But again, that's just I'm just an old man. And this was a comment from Jacob that I want to get in there. Cool to see. Hashtag for Spidey. Yeah. Again, this is the takeaway. If anything should be the thumbnail for this, I don't even know. See, I can do a screen grab there or that's really the picture that I should get. Oh, and look at this. Kemi Egan, still here. I hadn't seen you in a while, but so that's cool that you're listening. So, and Kemi Egan, that's interesting that you're reading all those books digitally. I definitely want to talk to you more about that in the future. Maybe we'll compare reading lists. Maybe we'll do some assigned reading. Jeff Winstead, I encouraged him to read one of my favorite limited series of all time, Kitty Pryde and Wolverine, 6 issues, art by Al Milgrom, who we talked about a couple times in here. And he got me to read Crisis on Infinite Earths, one of the very rare in continuity DC books that I've ever read. And I mean, it's amazing what they were able to do with that book. It's a compelling story, but much like Dark Phoenix, when other creators come in years later and start to do things to tinker with it, it takes away from it a little bit, but it doesn't take away enough. Like Crisis is amazing. And as a Marvel guy, it's I don't want to have to say that, but I'm saying it anyway. And then let's see, Jacob Downey, what about drive up movie theaters? Yeah, I mean, I guess you drive right up to the screen. Really enjoyed my show with Dennis DeYoung. Yeah, if you didn't see that interview, he was really fun to talk to. He was shot out of a cannon, as they say. You can find that on the Bladtcast channel, the same YouTube channel that this is on. Or you can find the audio version on the audio version of my podcast, Bladtcast, Bladtcast. Rock said that this was fun. I'm glad you had fun, Rock. Always appreciate you supporting me, even when I'm doing shows that Zia's not on. But as of right now, she's scheduled to join me this Thursday at 11 a.m. Pacific for some Marvel movie talk. You will find that in all the places that I mentioned. That's all the time for now. But I, again, appreciate everyone who was here. But as always, as the great Stan Lee would say, Excelsior.